not leave, you will be arrested.
Yale University in Connecticut has become another flashpoint in the conflict between pro-Palestinian demonstrators and university administrators.
Up with liberation! Down with occupation! Down with occupation!
Police led away 47 protesters at Yale on Monday morning. The demonstrators have been camped at a university plaza since Friday, protesting Yale's refusal to divest from military weapons manufacturers. The protesters claim that makes Yale complicit in Israel's genocide in Gaza. Meanwhile, administrators at Columbia University in New York City canceled in-person classes on Monday, citing some Jewish students' complaints that they felt unsafe after more than 100 pro-Palestinian demonstrators were arrested last week.
It's time for us to show that, yes, we want to be visible. The university should do something about what we're asking about the genocide that's happening in Gaza. They should stop investing in this genocide that our people is now suffering from.
Some of the anti-Israel protesters at Columbia are Jewish themselves, but a school-affiliated rabbi over the weekend urged Jewish students to return home for their own safety. Videos on social media, like this one, apparently show a protester calling on the armed wing of Hamas to target Jewish students. But New York City police tried to tamp down the fear.
There's been no credible threats to any particular group or individual coming from this protest or any other.
Columbia's president says the university is adding more than 100 additional safety personnel as protesters have returned to campus. President Biden addressed the continuing university protests on Monday.
Do you condemn the anti-Semitic protests on college campuses?
I condemn the anti-Semitic protests. That's why I've set up a program to deal with that. I also condemn those who don't understand what's going on with the Palestinians.
Student protest leaders denied charges of anti-Semitism and said the demonstrators have been peaceful. Now protests are spreading to still more schools, with students at NYU and MIT being the latest to join the pro-Palestinian movement. Heidi Zhou-Castro, Al Jazeera, Washington.
And in the last few hours, police officers have cleared out the New York University protest after hundreds of demonstrators defied warnings and refused to leave. And we're getting reports students and faculty were detained. A New York police spokesperson said arrests were made after the university asked police to enforce trespassing violations. Let's bring in Helga Tawil Suri, an associate professor at the Department of Middle East and Islamic Studies at New York University. And she's joining us live from New York. Thank you very much for your time. I understand that you're actually somewhere outside a police station waiting for one of your colleagues to be released. Can you tell us what happened at the protest?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having us. I'm waiting actually for many colleagues and many students to be released, and I am outside of the police station. So as of this morning is about 4:30 a.m. A number of students started their encampment in protest of what's been happening in Palestine, but also in support of sort of pro-Palestine rights and freedom of speech, freedom of expression, as well as in solidarity with other students at Columbia and elsewhere across the country. And so they set up tents and encampment. And as soon as they started, campus security tried to block that off already, and also called in the NYPD. And then eventually the NYPD kind of backed away, and the students remained there all day, peacefully protesting, sort of chanting and so on. And, supporters came. At this point, there was a barricade that was set up between the students and sort of a space kind of outside of campus, if you want. But NYU is a very urban campus. There is no inside and outside. But in any case, the students were there all day. Those that were kind of in the encampment, and then those that were also sort of protesting from across the street. And it was peaceful. No one was hurt. Nothing happened. But, I think both the New York University campus security guards just would not sort of allow for a lot of movement and would not back down, and then eventually brought in the NYPD.
Yeah, NYU has said that following a breach in the barrier set up at Gould Plaza, that the head of NYU's global campus safety said that, the one safety requirement we made was that no additional protesters could enter Gould Plaza. So was the problem that the university had that they just didn't want people from outside the university to join those protesting? I mean, what did they tell you about why they've arrested students and faculty?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't want anybody, not just people from outside of the university, but they wouldn't allow extra students or extra faculty to actually come onto the plaza as well. So I think, they were telling us that the concern was for people that were beyond NYU, but they wouldn't even let people from NYU kind of join the peaceful protesters on the plaza. And so eventually when the police, when they finally brought the police in later in the evening around, I'm going to say like 7:30, 8 p.m. or so, they charged us with trespassing, even though we are NYU faculty members and NYU students. I don't know how we trespass on our own campus, but that was the sort of charge against us. And they brought in hundreds of policemen and riot gear to stop the encampment.
Yeah, it certainly seems like a very bizarre charge for the reason that you just mentioned. I wonder if there are other, protests against other issues at NYU, if there's a similar response to the one that we've seen. What's been your experience in American universities of showing solidarity with Palestinians?
So I've been at NYU for almost 20 years, and I've seen a number of protests happening. I don't think I have ever seen anything of a crackdown of this nature, and such kind of, over the top, if you want, sort of response on the part of campus security and then on the part of NYPD. And I think it's just reflective of the attempt across the country to sort of crack down on what is being called, pro-Palestine speech, right? So yes, this is pro-Palestine. This is also obviously kind of trying to raise awareness about what's happening in Palestine. But it's also a question of academic freedom and freedom of expression, as well as the freedom to gather, particularly on one's own campus. And so I think what we've seen over the last few weeks, the last few months, is really very, very harsh crackdowns on students, and in this case also students and faculty who are leading these kinds of, again, peaceful protests.
Helga Tawil Suri of New York University, thank you so much for joining us on this important issue. We really appreciate it.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.